Today on Locked On Rockies. Well, that was fun.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 25th day of July in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holton, your Rockies fan extraordinaire. Been bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk for over 3 seasons now, and been following this team my entire life. I love the Rockies like you love the Rockies, and if you love the Rockies, you are in the right spot because we are your daily Colorado Rockies podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, well, good news for you. We talk Rockies baseball each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind. Patrick Joyce, if you're out there still listening, you said you're a diehard Red Sox fan who loves the Yard Goats and loves tuning into the show. I'm thinking of you today, buddy. I hope us Rockies fans have been there and been there plenty of times before. So thank you again for everyone tuning in and joining the show and hanging out with us here on the Locked On Rockies podcast today. On Locked On Rockies, what else is there to talk about? The Rockies scored 20 runs. Not only did the Rockies score 20 runs, Cal Quantrill was good on the mound and also started a whole mess of drama by dropping the bomb there. And I want to talk about consistency again. I know this is something I talk about all the time, but again, the radio broadcast brought this up, and it highlights something that we have talked about, I swear, not only this season, but last season and the season prior to this one. So we're going to talk about all that and more coming up on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, today's episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. So the Colorado Rockies absolutely dismantle, throttle the Boston Red Sox. And it came against a pitcher that I was a little worried about. We talked about in the preview coming in there, a pitcher that has had success striking batters out, but it was all Rockies. And it was great to see. I mean, every single Rockies player not only getting a hit, but contributing. And the Rockies being the one to just lay down the law. And not only the great offense, which, I mean, let's just go through some of the highlights. Ezequiel Tovar goes 3 for 6, 2 RBI and a home run. Jake Cave gets himself a hit, gets himself a walk. Brenton freaking Doyle. I mean, we can't talk enough about that guy, dude. I mean, to come out onto the scene last year with his elite defense, and now to so far be one of the biggest surprises in all of baseball in terms of turnaround, it's insane. And yes, I say in all of baseball. I mean, Brenton Doyle, we wanted him to bat 220. We were hoping Brenton Doyle to just be serviceable on offense, not a leader on the Rockies offense. And that is just total gravy, man. I mean, he is becoming so quickly such a delight to watch and such a fan favorite, I think, because of his game and the depth to it. To add offense into this defensive gems with the base stealing, I mean, for the Rockies, you are sitting there and you're so pumped. I mean, it's got to continue throughout his career. Obviously, it's an early career, but man, why doubt the signs? Why doubt the process of Brenton Doyle right now and what he's been able to accomplish? His season a little bit masked by the Rockies record, I think, as we've talked about before. Let's keep going down the lineup here. Hunter Goodman comes in and pinch hits, doesn't get a hit, doesn't get many opportunities. That's all right. We'll shout outs to you still, Hunter Goodman. Ryan McMahon gets back in the lineup and he launches a home run as well, getting a hit in the game. Shunk picking up a hit in his pinch hit appearance and a short time there. But here's another good sign. They weren't hard hits. They weren't extra base hits, but we will take 3 base hit days from Chris Bryant. 3 for 6, 3 singles, and looks like he's comfortable. I had people telling me they feel like he looks like they were mentioning it on the broadcast. that his timing looks good. And I think someone was I got a text about watching, or a comment. I think we were saying someone was watching Chris Bryant there in that latest rehab start, and he actually looked healthy this time. He says he's healthy. I will believe it. I take that with a grain of salt, but what can you do? Brendan Rodgers, 4-for-5 with 2 RBI in yesterday's game. Michael Toglia, 3 hits, including 2 RBI. Jacob Stallings there with the big long fly, and a huge day for him on offense. And Sam Hilliard, certainly worried, I think, for a little bit there, that he was going to be the lone Rocky without the hit, but instead he finishes the day not only with the hit, but multiple productive at-bats where he drives in 3 RBI as well. All in all, to respond like that after being shut out means something as well. I mean, that's a Red Sox team that's 54-47, and that's a Red Sox team as well that should be playing better. That should play better ball. And it was surprising to see. And I know their defense is not what they were hoping for on opening day and such like that. I know the injury bug has been brutal for Boston, but it's pretty surprising to see a team that's 54-47 commit 4 errors and look bad. I mean, and I know that that's a game in which, you know, you're hot, you're frustrated. Cal Quantrill just, you know, talk smack to you and did all that. I understand that, but it is still surprising to watch an above 500 and, like, you know, one of these big reputation teams like the Red Sox boot the ball all around the field and completely get in the way of themselves. I mean, the Rockies hit the hell out of the ball yesterday. Let's not take anything away from them, but the Red Sox gave them opportunities, and the Red Sox couldn't get out of their own way. At least when we watch the Rockies and when they've gotten crushed, it kind of just seems like they've been outmatched or whatever, and just missing spots on pitching. To boot the ball around when you're already down big and to be doing that type of stuff is really surprising and really shocking to see. And it's a reminder, though, of how frustratingly difficult the game can be in those moments. But that was a takeaway that I had. I was like, that is going to ruin Boston's season. You can't be number 2 in errors to Miami and expect it not to bite you in critical times. I mean, because there were moments and stuff where the Rockies, you know, where you could have gotten an extra out, you could have prevented the rallies, you could have done, you know, this, that, or the other thing, but the errors just totally took me by surprise. For a Red Sox team that you know it seems to be not managing a lot of stuff that happened this year as well. You know, I mean, like I said, I know the Story injury, I know they got tons of other injuries, so they're navigating it, and they got the type of stuff, but just when you don't see those teams very often, and you know, you just see the records and you kind of just hear the bits and pieces from outside, you're just kind of surprised. But I did not expect that to happen. And again, I didn't know about them being an error prone team. So I mean, it is so. I hope this is a momentum booster. And this series, what it shows you again is we were just talking about how some pitchers and some teams are able to come into Coors Field confidently and negate the Coors Field effect or boogeyman. And that was not the case here. Boston looked uncomfortable that entire series. Their outfielders weren't in position. The length of the outfield was too much for them. I mean, center field it was originally 5 errors in that game before the hit to center field was changed into a hit. Because, you know, again, the other thing too is it's not like there were moments where the Rockies got a little shaky. I mean, towards the end there, Peter Lambert was just trying to get out, so I get that. But the Rockies still suffered, you know, still gave up 11 hits and gave up 7 runs. But it doesn't matter when you score crooked numbers in the first 4 innings. I mean, that was very, very impressive. Every opportunity the Rockies had, they took advantage of yesterday, and they continue to hit the long ball. I mean, that it's going to be a big challenge and really interesting to see if any of this offense will carry over to San Francisco, a notoriously difficult place to play for the Colorado Rockies. But man, just it's the little bit of that baseballness as well, because like we said, the Rockies have been on the other end of this. But it's another game, another real weird game that joins a weird Rockies season. You know, the Rockies have been on the edge of blowouts. They've had a couple of big blowouts. They've scored a bunch of runs as well. And it's always fun to watch your team tie a franchise record for runs scored in a game. And you know, it's got to feel good for the Rockies as well, doing against the Red Sox there in the result. After the results of the 2007 World Series. We'll still never get over that one. And they'll always win that battle though, right? All right. Man, that was just fun. It's fun when your team is doing the slamma jamma. It's fun when your team is the one doing the damage and getting the job done there. It's you don't see it too often, but very fun. The Rockies improved to 24-29 at home, and the Rockies there, after the shutout, still outscore the Red Sox here by a score of 29 to, what is that, 29-21. I mean, that 20 spot does a lot of heavy lifting after the shutout. And again, the caveats and the thing to look for, that's still giving up 8, 6, and 7 to the Red Sox there. So as if you're looking for the stuff to be critical about there with the Rockies, it wasn't like it was the Rockies were doing the shutting out of themselves. But in case you're curious, Ezequiel Tovar hitting streak up to 11 games. So beautiful day at the yard yesterday. Let's talk about consistency. Let's talk about this theme. Let's talk about the Rockies season when you zoom out a little bit in this after this in the scope. With the scope, I don't even necessarily know if that's the related phrase that we want to go with anyway. But with the lens of yesterday's game, maybe that's what we're going for. Terrible tease, but we're talking about consistency coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is your spot for all things HVAC, all things that you need, probably at your job. If you're heading out to the skilled trades worksite, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, all available to you online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. We are also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time's got you covered all season long with your last-minute tickets. And maybe you want to just get a great deal. Game Time's got you covered with that because Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer you get to first pitch, so you're always going to get a great deal. You can see all the deals for yourself, and maybe this is an opportunity for you to go and check out a ballpark or a ball game that you haven't before, and part of a trip, part of something that you wanted to do, part of your bucket list. Game Time's got you covered because not only are you going to get a great deal, you can get views from your seat before you purchase and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time's got the lowest price, or they're going to give you a credit of 110% of the difference. And you can click that all-in pricing buttons, and you're going to get upfront, no surprise fees at checkout. Download the Game Time app and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And speaking of the Locked On Podcast Network, they got a 24/7 stream available to you covering all things sports. Locked On Sports Today, available on YouTube and the Amazon Fire TV app, and all your play-by-play action. SiriusXM has got you covered all season long. Don't forget, too, Anilo Piro breaking down all the games here on the Locked On Rockies postcast on Locked On Denver Sports channel. So go check that out and enjoy. So our boy is doing great work over there. So here's the setup, right? We've talked about this before. We've talked about how the Rockies have to negate the bad stretches, how they have to break up the bad and focus and make it and play more consistent. Break up the chunks of bad and not go on long losing streaks or terrible stretches or have months where they are bad, or not just bad. Let's just go through the season here. The Rockies were 1-3 in March. The Rockies then went 6-19 in April. That is 7-22 in their first month of the season. We'll just combine them together, really. First month of the season. Then in May, the Rockies go above 500, going 14-13 on that time. How do they follow up a May? By going 7-20 in the month of June. Now, so far in July, the Rockies are 500 and a chance to play 500 ball against a team that's going to be difficult to do so. The fact that I bring this up because look at the stark, drastic differences between 2 out of the 4 months. 6-19 and 7-20 versus 14-13 and 10-10 so far. That's a massive difference. That's 10 more. That's if let's see. If the Rockies were to have played just 500 ball in the month of June, right? You would go, what was it? So you take 10 losses off of the Rockies, right? And my math is just not mathing right now, but the point is, good teams don't go through stretches like that. And I know the Rockies aren't a good team, but maybe we're starting to see something bubble for it to start signaling the change. And the first test of this is going to happen here on this road trip. Because if the Rockies want to finish 500 on the season, they have 6 games left in the month of July. 6 games left. They have to go 3-3 against San Francisco and the Angels, with 4 of those games being against San Francisco in San Francisco. If they want to show us something, if they want to show us that things are indeed improving, like you kind of look a little bitish into the end of July, and you're like, maybe things were not really. But my point is, if we want to start, this is a moment of the season, and this road trip right here, this is a benchmark that doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things for people. But it would be a benchmark and a moment for the Rockies that signals, at least implying, a corner being turned. Is it going to be enough to turn the corner for the rest of the season, or and the future of the Rockies? I don't know. But if you can follow up a really solid homestand to start the second half of the season, in which you play above 500 in that homestand, and you follow that up with a 500 road trip or close to it, not only are you going to finish the month at 500, but you continuing to build a stretch where that the Rockies don't usually go on. It's been streaky at best to define the Rockies here. So let's just go to the end of the last little chunk of really. Let's just go through the first half again. Here, the Rockies, when they start the season, They lose 6 out of 7. They lose 2 in a row. They win 1. Then they lose 4 in a row. They win 1. 2 in a row. Every time the Rockies had a win to start the season, it was followed up by a loss. The Rockies didn't win back-to-back ball games until the middle of May, in which they then rattled off their longest win streak of the year. But what was the longest win streak of the year followed up by? Losing streak of 4 games. Then they get into a stretch where it's kind of a little more normal. Win, loss, win, loss, win, win, win. And a couple of stuff where it's not so many stretches of, wow, go big, or so many stretches of, holy cow, this is bad. But then that pattern returns again here in June, in a little bit of June, where they start June off by losing 5 straight games, broken up a little bit with a couple of wins there. But too many losses are racked up in a row. Too many times you see the Rockies go on losing streaks and long stretches of losing. That would be the best thing to see in this second half, is to see the Rockies be able to split more series, win more series, just break things up a little bit more, especially on the road. I don't have a lot of faith and a lot of hope in it changing too much with the road Rockies this year. But when we're looking for something, when we're looking for steps forward, when we're looking to see where the Rockies can build off of yesterday's game, these upcoming series and finishing this month strong is a good one. If you can respond with a 500 or around a 500 or above 500 record in the month of July, then you once again have responded to a week when you had a sub 240 winning, or a 240 winning percentage in April, a 259 winning percentage in June. And so when you can follow those up by playing above 500 ball, that shows that the Rockies are able to respond and able to bounce back. But then the next step of that is, don't go 7-20. Don't go 6-19. Make it a little bit more middling. Make it so you don't go through so many losing streaks and so many tough stretches. And we'll see if this team is able to do so now, as it's gotten some people back and some members back in the lineup, mixed and matched. We'll see what with the Rockies, with the return of some other Rockies, means for this as well. But I just wanted to point out how streaky the Rockies have been this season, and how this homestand kind of is a good way where they won a lot, 4 out of 6, but it was a win, a loss, a win. It was back and forth, which I'd like to see the Rockies able to respond more throughout the second half. All right, let's take a quick break and let's talk about Cal Quantrill. I know a lot of people are curious about old Cal there and the dust up with the Red Sox. Let's talk about that coming up here in segment number 3 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we get to that, though, I want to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Booking.com. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to travel to all those U.S. cities you've always secretly wanted to learn more about, including your rival cities. But the cool part about baseball is it's all summer long, and all the teams play each other. So you have a reason to go see that new part of the country that you haven't seen before. Make a trip out of it. There's really one of the best ways to plan a road trip, especially, is by planning it around baseball games. I've done it before. It's super fun, and Booking.com has you covered. With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival city. You can see hotels that overlook stadiums to family-friendly resorts. Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for all your summer travel this season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city. Yes, that's right. Even Phoenix, even San Diego, even L.A., and even San Francisco. Hey, maybe do a last-second crazy trip and go out to San Francisco this weekend. Be spontaneous. Why not? Book today on Booking.com, on the site, or in the Booking.com app. We're also brought to you by the folks at PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. That means you can pick the players you want in your lineup, not having to worry about that waiver wire pickup or what your waiver priority is. It's you versus the numbers. You take the players that you want to take, and you choose more or less on player stat projections, base hits, strikeouts, stolen bases, walks, you name it, you pick it. at PrizePicks. You can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. If you're looking for promotions, PrizePicks has you covered every week, from lowering select players' stat projections on Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Friday. PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Thank you so much for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. We really do appreciate that. Shout outs to all of our everydayers out there. Shout outs to all of y'all for tuning in here. A reminder that Locked On Sports Today is available to you for 24/7, your free 24/7 sports streaming channel. Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and on the Amazon Fire TV app. You can also find all your Rockies action all season long on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app. And folks, Cal Quantrill. I learned a lot yesterday. Did not know the backstory behind that Red Sox player there, where things got real interesting. I did not know what had happened in that game. And at first when that happened, it looked like, oh, man, the Red Sox took offense to Cal Quantrill getting pumped up after getting him out, and that wasn't necessarily the case. I don't need to go over with exactly what I said, or what Cal Quantrill said to Reese McGuire, but you can go find out. The lip reading is pretty accurate, and while it's a roast, while it's like, talk about a haymaker blow to throw to someone, especially in the heat of competition, it's kind of some, it's total crap talk. I mean, I'm sure that is not the first time that Reese McGuire has heard something like that. I'm not sure that, especially when it's an embarrassing moment for him. Absolutely, that is being brought up, but no wonder it got testy. On the flip side, it's kind of another thing where it's a reminder Cal Quantrill's got that dog. I mean, there's really no way around it. The guy oozes energy. The guy oozes passion, and he has come into being a Rockies pitcher this year. He's never said anything about the Coors stuff. He's never said anything about just trying. He has came here to step up to the challenge and be ready to do his job, and he's done his job. Mixed in with being a high energy smack talk guy. I mean, it's clear he is an emotional pitcher, and he shows emotion on the mound. And while I will let you all decide where to go down on the burn level and the appropriateness of said burn. I'm sure worse things have been said in the field of smack talk in the world of professional sports. I'm sure that it's not a surprise to some of you to hear that baseball players talk smack to each other. Also comes down to, hey, if you're gonna get Cal giving you the slam down insult is an extra thing, but if you're gonna take offense to him pumping his fist after getting the out, don't get out. Don't get blown out by the Rockies. I mean, and that's that. It would be the same thing anybody would be saying if the Rockies were on the other side, right? We'd be saying the same thing. You got roasted. Ooh, that's embarrassing. It's a shot to the gut. I mean, not going to lie. But at the same time, if you are going to get frustrated with a pitcher showing emotion, don't get out. Or don't try to show. Baseball and their arguments and the smack talk and the bench is clearing, man. Please. It's all huff and puff. I mean, and the bullpen's coming in. Okay. I mean, clearly it wasn't. I mean, they were able to hash it. They were able to nobody got ejected. Nobody threw fisticuffs. Like it's one of those moments too where it's just like, I just get benches clearing in baseball. It's just like now it's immediate. It's like, whoa, all right, we gotta go. Everybody's gotta go. It's like, I bet you those two could have yelled it out. Jacob Stallings was right in between. The people that got involved. But it is pretty funny how as soon as anybody starts arguing or things start getting a little testy on the baseball diamond, every single player is in there. And I did see some memes that were pretty funny of like, where's Trevor Story and where's he at in this situation as well. But man, I love Cal Quantrill, man. It's gonna be really interesting to see what the Rockies do with him at the trade deadline. I think he fits the mold really well. He does add great depth to the Rockies' traditional lineup of starters. You got to embrace the rebuild. You got to get your value for your players, especially in a season that's going to be lost and with next year most likely not going to be where the Rockies, I think, thought they were going to be. But Cal Quantrill can pitch, man. And Cal Quantrill has not shied away from any of the competition, nor has he shied away from pitching at Coors Field. So I just think that the Rockies, it's going to be interesting. It'll be really, really interesting to see how the Rockies pan out. So, yeah, I'm watching the play again with Cal Quantrill. Quantrill pops off after getting the fly ball, and you don't really see much. And then it cuts over here. And so he must have said – I feel like McGuire must have said something to him after he popped off. Okay, yeah. So he gets off. Yeah, and then he just hits him with the insult there. So, yeah, it looks like Cal Quantrill when he comes off the mound, he's looking down. And then while he's popping off, and then he hears something. Yeah. So so he says something, and then Cal Quantrill kept the receipts, I guess is the easiest way I'll say that. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for joining us here on another episode of Locked On Rockies. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, and we bring you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Rockies podcast on your the YouTube channel as well. So join the show, be part of the show. When you like the videos, when you subscribe, when you leave reviews, really do help the show grow. Hey, for your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB. And don't forget, folks, if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.